Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Pinniped Community Meeting. Just a reminder, these meetings are being recorded and uploaded to our YouTube playlist. If you're watching from home on one of these recordings, we invite you to attend these in person. We meet every first and third Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's just an opportunity for you to listen in on what the team is working on and bring up any discussion topics that you wish to share with the team, or if you have anything that you need help with from the team. It's a really good live opportunity for you to engage with the team in that way. When you do attend, we ask that everyone reads and abides by our code of conduct. So please read that, and when you attend, just abide by that. And we also ask that when you attend, you put your name and any organization or company that you represent here. And that's just a way for us to keep track of who is attending these meetings and making sure the lines of communication are left open and we can reach out and not lose sight of who from the community is joining us. As far as announcements goes, it looks like we don't have anything here. Is that correct? Is there any announcements that the team wishes to share? All right, moving on. All right, status updates on the project roadmap. We have 3 items that have the timeline of July of this year. Does anyone want to give updates on these 3?
Yeah, so the first one out over there, remote OIDC login support, I think we are very close to getting that done. I know Margot can give more updates on the AD support side. The third one there, wider concierge cluster support, we're still trying to work that out and see what makes sense, because Mo has come up with a cool PR upstream for short-lived certs. So we want to evaluate whether we need to integrate that and then go in for the wider concierge cluster support. So I'll let Mo and I'll let Margot talk about AD and Mo talk about the short-lived certs.
Yeah. So we've been kind of trying to get this Active Directory specific identity provider that's slightly different than the LDAP identity provider, and we've been trying to figure out how to make all the defaults be as little configuration as possible. So if you don't say this is the username LDAP attribute that I want to be present in my ID token, and this is the UID attribute that I want to be present in my ID token, we can just kind of infer that based on our knowledge of what attributes Active Directory has. We've been kind of working on figuring out if we can get the search base defaulted, which is kind of hairy because without the search base, we really don't know anything about where to look. And so you can do some stuff with the global catalog, but then that leads to other issues like things not being unique. So it's all kind of weird.
Mo, do you have anything to add?
On AD or on my thing?
On your thing.
Well, I was going to ask Margot and Ryan if they. I guess we can wait for discussion. I had a question for them, but I can wait. so in regards to my thing, if I'll go find the kept link and put it somewhere in the community meeting stats, but the gist of it is in 122 and later clusters, you will be able to use the CSR API to request a short-lived cert, and that depending on the cluster's configuration, it may honor that request for you. And so we could in Pinniped detect this capability, and in all environments that are new enough and support that configuration, we could then use that to issue credentials for users. What that does is then it broadens the scope of things that we can support, or environments that we can support. So as a, for example, today we require an impersonation proxy to be used if you want to use a GKE cluster or a OpenShift cluster. Those are the only, those both require the impersonation proxy feature to be enabled. It is possible in the future that that won't be a requirement by using this other functionality. The negative is you have to wait for 122 to be rolled out to those environments, which may be a long time from now. So if as a, for example, if we wanted direct OpenShift support and we did not want to wait for a 122 version, a Kubernetes version of OpenShift that had that functionality, then we could add direct support in a different way. But we're still trying to work out what makes sense. Long term, I think no matter what, we will eventually implement an approach that uses the CSR API because it has some nicer just sort of architectural semantics that we would like to have, but it's not a requirement anytime soon for us to do that.
Okay. Anything else from the team on those items? Before we move on to the previous meeting, there is something that just came in late yesterday, was put online. We've been working on Pinniped CNCF webinar, CNCF Cloud Native Computing Foundation. We have secured a spot for August 24th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And the maintainers, Matt Moyer and Margot Crawford, will be doing a live webinar with Q&A, just going over Pinniped and doing some demos and the history of Pinniped and why it was built and all those fun things. So if you're really interested in learning more about the project and being able to see some demos and ask direct questions in that way, we encourage you to sign up for this webinar. Okay, now moving on to some items we had from previous meetings. I know Matt, who is not on the call today, had brought these two up last time, but I'm curious if anybody had any thoughts, any updates for this. Support non-iterative password-based OIDC login. Going once.
I think we're still planning on it, but I don't think anyone's picked it up. Is that right?
I haven't been part of any discussions related to this one. I think we might have set it aside for a while.
Okay. Then the other one was enable registering new clients with supervisor.
I think we've also set this one aside, but it probably deserves to be on the roadmap somewhere. It's more of a long concern, I think.
Okay. Discussion topics. Mo, you said you had some stuff you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Margot and Ryan just sort of how far we've kind of gotten on the AD stuff. in terms of like, do we have a stronger sense of now of what we can determine for you? The context of my question is, I think so far the feedback we have sort of gotten from field engineering and such is that configuring this stuff is hard. Like, it's fine once you have it configured, and that's all great, but it can be hard for customers and the field to figure out what the right configuration is. So in that sort of thought process, we have tried very hard to limit the configuration that's available and detect whatever we can in whatever way possible. So I'm just kind of curious how far we've sort of gotten along those lines with AD, since it is a sort of a very opinionated flavor of LDAP.
Want to take that, Margaret?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hard part is definitely the search base, and that we are still kind of in the middle of trying to understand. I think for other default values to make it easier to configure, it's a little bit simpler to know ahead of time, like what that attribute will be, but we're not, I guess, yeah, we're not really Active Directory experts. We're trying to kind of understand what these things mean. We find out that you can make a search with an empty search base if you use the global controller, but we're not sure what the implications of that are fully. So we're still trying to understand some of the trade-offs there. I don't know, Ryan, if you had anything to add.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And like you said, I think we just have a lot to learn about global catalogs and forests and domains and all of the Active Directory concepts. Figure out what might make sense. Not experts.
Did you all get a sense for when, like maybe not even necessarily what versions, but like how often is a global catalog like a thing that you can actually talk to?
It seems like by default, your first domain controller that you set up is a also has global catalog set up. What we're unsure about is, like, does that mean that people have enabled that global catalog port, or is that blocked by some firewall in almost every instance, or you know, are most people manually disabling it or something? So we're not really sure.
If someone gives us the host name of an Active Directory server, it may or may not have the global catalog role assigned to it. So it may or may not be on the global catalog port. They would have to, if they wanted us to search the global catalog, they would have to purposefully give us the host name of a server that does have the. It's also a little unclear to us. So a global catalog has a domain forest, which means there's multiple domain trees, which means there's multiple pools of users. And so their usernames, or that the field that we would like to consider their username, we're not sure, it may not be unique anymore. Some complexity around that as well. Trying to figure
It's
that out.
not guaranteed unique. We don't know in practice how often that would actually be unique. And we're not worried about it as a security concern, because if we make a query and we get multiple results back for your username, we're just going to fail. But it would be really annoying if you tried to log in and we said, no, you can't, there's two of you. From a user experience perspective.
Okay. I guess we can probably keep talking about this maybe in the next community meeting. I think we'll probably learn a lot more and probably gotten much further in our implementation. I think it'd be kind of good to share all of our learnings. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Anything else the team wants to bring up? Going once? Okay. Okay. So thanks for attending this Pinniped community meeting. Just a reminder, we do meet every first and third Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So we encourage you to come and attend these meetings and join us, and bring up any discussion topics you wish to discuss with the team, or just listen in. We welcome lurkers. You don't have to actively engage. It's just a nice way to start getting involved if you're interested. Other ways to reach us if you aren't able to attend these meetings is in the Kubernetes Slack workspace in the Pinniped channel, and also on Twitter at Project Pinniped. And with that, we hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.